all know how hard job hunting is nowadays. Gone are the times where you can just walk into a company, hand in your resume, chat with the employer, and you're asked to come to work the following Monday right then and there. Actually, I never had that luxury, and here's how mine usually went. Pro tip is to be one of the first ones to apply when a job listing goes up. This can be by chance, or by using beep beep bots, or simply by luck. You check out the companies and the job listing, looking at how many bathroom breaks they'll allow before poking your shoulder at your desk, and if the pantry snacks provided are to your liking, you then fill out the online application. If you're not instantly rejected by the system and given an automated email reply starting with "Dear applicant name," the waiting game officially starts. Sometimes you'll never hear back, and sometimes you'll get an email asking if you could do a quick introductory call with the recruiter. And then during the intro call, you'll be trying your best to sell yourself to the company. Why were you applying? Why you think you'd be a good fit for the role? Expectations and concerns are briefly hashed out before the recruiter tells you to stop, and that they'll send the information over to the recruiting manager. If all goes well, then congrats, you're officially in the interview hell. Ah yes, the one step of the interview process that requires you to tirelessly regurgitate the same information to multiple people at different times, and this can span across multiple weeks or condensed into a single day gauntlet. And between any interviews is a chance that they'll drop you off without a warning. Though, if you do make it past the interview hell, you'll end up in the contract phase and pretty much everything beyond that is smooth sailing. At least, that's what you hope it would be like. The process is frustrating, time-consuming, and mentally draining. But once you have that job, you'll hopefully be set for life, right? Who am I kidding? Job security in this era. And all these frustrations was exactly how I felt during the cat adoption process. I've always wanted a cat of my own because my entire family and distant relatives were all dog owners. That's right, I'm quite the rebellious one. But still, I grew up just liking cat-related items and shows like Tokyo Mew Mew, Shugokara, The Cat Returns. One of the earliest plushies I slept with as a child was an orange cat. So growing up, I'd picture myself having a perfect orange cat if I ever got the chance to own one. Initially, I didn't have a preference of adopting or shopping. I know, touchy topic. As long as it was an orange cat that did not have a stubby face, I would be perfectly happy. Hearing from friends and social media, the process seemed easy and straightforward. Walk into an adoption center during opening hours, pick a cat, and then walk out there with said cat. Or you can usually pick up some free kittens on Craigslist, but I don't know about that. It feels really sketchy, especially with all the cat scams I've been hearing about. Like ones where they require a deposit to view the cats, or you have to transfer the money before you can meet up. But unlike the tales my friends have told me, here's how my experience went. What if I told you that you can pay to view cats and it's completely legal? While you can enjoy the company of a whole army of feline friends at a cat cafe, most also provide the option to adopt the cats that are roaming around the shop. These are often cats sent in by local shelters who have no space to house the cats in their offices, to offer adopters a chance to interact with them, as well as give the cats a chance to socialize with other cats and humans, as most of them are feral rescues. One downside to parking the cats at a cat cafe is that there's an entrance fee to get into the cat area, which can cost quite a bit if they require you to visit several times before an adoption application can be submitted, gotta buy a drink or some food, or if the parking is not free. Usually these cafes would post on their website which cats are available to adopt and would tag the ones that are pending adoption or even recently adopted and waiting for their new families to pick them up. I came across this really cute silver tabby that was available, and I tried to book a slot at the cat cafe as early as I could to view the cat. On the morning of the visit, I double-checked the website to see if the tabby's page didn't change to pending. Even if it did though, there were no refunds on the visit, so rip me, but at least he should still be available, right? Emphasis on should. Okay, when I got to the cat cafe, they did a little bit of introductions telling you what to do and what not to do inside the cat area, and there's a bulletin board with a Polaroid of every cat that is currently residing at the shop. Well, guess what? He was not there. I looked around and there was definitely no tabby cats around. And I don't think all the cats on the bulletin board was even in the cafe, but I managed to catch a glimpse of another board of cats that had titles pending and adopted. Guess which cat was the sole cat in the adopted section? Yep, there he was. The tabby I was looking for already got adopted. And so I left the cafe kind of dejected because none of the other cats I interacted with caught my attention. There was one orange cat, I think, but he wasn't even on the show floor, so, And when I refreshed the tabby cat's page, it was gone. Like, it didn't even pass through pending or had an adopted sign. It was just straight up insta-adopted somehow, which I found weird because the cat cafe describes the process like this. Visit the shop at least once before applying. After applying, a volunteer will go through the apps to see if you're the right fit. It may take 1 to 2 weeks to get back to you. If you move to the next stage, you'll get a secondary interview like a phone interview or reference checks of vets and landlords. And then once you pass all that, you're sent a contract and the adoption fee amount. Once everything is finalized, then you can visit the shop again to pick up the cat. So there's a long adoption process. Clearly someone wasn't updating the site as frequently as they should regarding the cat's availability. And you might say, well, why don't you just call the shop to check if the cat is still available beforehand? Okay, hear me out. If you have a website where you redirect people for the adoption process, purchase visit tickets, buy pet food, and see all available cats, I don't think you would bat an eye on assuming that the site should be kept pretty up to date, right? Most of the times, people will just tell you to go look at the site. So a more traditional way to adopt a cat would be from an animal shelter, but you might not know that most of these places are run by volunteers and can lack the manpower needed to process all incoming applications for adoptions and other work beyond that. Some shelters have their own list of pets looking for a home, but most use Pet Finder as it ranks pretty high up on search engines. Not gonna lie, this was my first place to browse pets as I found Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist to be very sus. The problem I kept facing with adoption shelters was even getting a chance to set up a viewing for a cat before it already got adopted, similar to cat cafes. The shelter I tried out first asked to visit the cats at their location first during adoption hours before submitting an application. There were no appointments, no reservations. It was all walk-in within a very short amount of time that the adoption hours were listed for. And these places weren't very accessible by public transit due to the space needed to care for a bunch of different pets, right? This meant I had to take a Lyft or an Uber to just get to the place. I came across a really cute looking orange cat that was around 2 years old on listing, and as directed by the shelter's instructions, I took a ride to visit the cat before applying. Well, this absolutely did not work for me either. When I got to the shelter, the cat was already adopted and gone. Like, I refreshed the site page as I was going in and boom, it was gone. Oh, they were also not accepting walk-ins for the day. Apparently, the adoption coordinator was only available for 10 minutes within the adoption hours that they listed. Like, at least notify your socials or something. They're there for a purpose and you keep posting new pictures of pets, so clearly someone is updating it. They were definitely not gonna pick up the phone because when I got there, the front desk person wasn't even at the desk and the phone was constantly ringing. When the lady did come back to the desk, she just told the person in front of me to apply for the cat first and then they'll just call you in for an appointment. And that is completely the opposite of what the written process was on their webpage. So yeah, don't ever go for large shelters. You will never hear back from them. It just sucks. Kind of like how you want to apply to work for a large company or one that has a lot of applications. You'll never even get a blanket rejection response. You just get ghosted. But regardless of what size of shelter you end up going for, you cannot avoid the long application form that you still have to fill out every single time. That's right. Just like a job application, VTuber agency application, rental housing application, the forms have a couple of sections that need detailed answers from every applicant. General personal info like age, contact, address, pretty simple stuff, even simpler if you have an autocomplete already ready for this. Your financial status, like what's your job title and income. Okay, a little bit personal here, but you should have a good budget and plan for unexpected emergencies and stuff like that, so I understand why they ask you. Why you want to adopt a cat and why now? What's your lifestyle like? How often do you go out? How quiet are you? Ah, yes, the quintessential question you get from any type of intake form. Why do you want to join our company? Why do you want to live in our neighborhood? So for this one, I don't even know. Do you go for the philosophical route or regurgitate a poem brought to you by someone with a major savior complex? I guess it depends on who reads your application. And sometimes there's even standard trivia questions about cats, like how many times do you feed your cat? What kind of food are you gonna give it? How long do cats generally live? You can and will get instantly rejected if you don't answer some of these questions correctly. Kind of like skill testing questions that you have to answer in order for you to claim your free dollar menu item at McDonald's. Yeah, the forms are lengthy, but it does make sense to a certain extent, like job openings and how it's very time and money consuming to hire a new employee. Shelters want to make sure that you're committed to keeping the cat for their lifetime and not return it within a week of owning them. Actually, many shelters won't even let you return the cat within that 1 week. You have to keep them for at least like a couple of months to really see if things can't or can work out. But there are some cases that there's so many applicants versus the few cats that are currently up for adoption that the shelter can and will be picky about who they choose as the adopters. But this can also mean that you can technically game the answers, though don't actually do that because you might end up with a cat that is completely out of your expectations, like one that is too playful or noisy, or vice versa, one never seems to want you to touch them at all. So just do your best in answering the forms if you happen to see a cat you like on the site. If that happens to be an orange one, well, you're pretty much out of luck, but it doesn't hurt to try. At this point, I pretty much lost hope that I can own, let alone touch, an orange one, but I will still give all my love towards whichever cat I end up with at the end of the process. After like 2 weeks, one of the shelter applications came back for an interview call. It was for a pair of silver cats and they looked kind of cute to me from the pictures, which is why I wanted to apply for them. During this call, the adoption coordinator went through all the answers I submitted alongside with additional follow-up questions like, why did I choose older cats? Because most people apparently want to adopt kittens. I just had a preference to see cats that already have some of their personalities developed, but I wasn't really opposed to younger ones if I'm able to train them at a young age. When she got to the part in the application about available cats, she said, okay, I know you want to see this pair of cats, but did any of the other cats on our list interest you? Or what kind of cats do you want generally? I had no idea what came over me during this time, but I felt like I had to say that I've always pictured myself owning an orange cat. But after going through the adoption applications and processes, things don't always turn out what you want it to be. I've given it a lot of thought, and yeah, I would love a cat no matter what color coat it had because it would be my cat. Not one that my friends own, not one that wanders around the neighborhood and I could just pet it occasionally. It would be my cat. So after a quick pause, I heard some papers rummaging through the phone, and then she told me that they had an orange pair of kittens that they forgot to post the listings up and asked if I was interested, and that she would send me some photos after the call. If interested, I would be getting first dibs on viewing for them before they're uploaded to the site. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a look. You know, it's only like 2 hours per trip to go view them and then back and forth, and I have no car, so it's going to be a pricey Uber ride. And then I'll have to take 2 more trips again if I do decide to adopt them to pick them up, but at least I secured a viewing with orange cats. You could say the rest is history. Well, okay, no, there's a little bit more to that. So they don't really give you much time to think about for the rest of the process. Definitely feels like every impulse buying tactic was used here. Once I booked a viewing, I had to get back within 24 hours of meeting the kittens to move on with the adoption or choose another cat to see. And then they'll open up the kittens to other applicants. And then within another day, if I agree, I had to sign the adoption papers and send the money over. And then they'll give you a strict time limit to pick up the kittens. So while all this is going on, you'll still need to make sure you have all the necessities like food, litter, everything to take care of the kittens when they come home. And I'll be explaining that in part 2. If you liked watching this video, check out this one about other hobbies that I enjoy in my spare time. Or this one that's recommended for you. I stream games and pack openings for TCG like Pokemon on Twitch, and if you want to support the channel, consider joining the membership or other ways listed in the description box below. Bye for now!